No. I think you hear me now. That was weird. Not sure if you're still here, Ed, but let me know. I'm not sure if you hear me. I think we're good. I think I'm seeing some audio feedback, some of those levels going off. So thank you for that. I think we're good on the audio. Um, but yeah, kind of wanted to talk a little bit about Spencer Jones. Sorry about that whole hiccup. Since we see more people tuning in. Thank you so much, Ed. You are a lifesaver of the stream. So last, a little bit story on that, getting a little bit personal behind the scenes. Last episode, the I just didn't have the audio hooked up right, and so it was picking up from my Mac, and I wanted to make sure that you guys hear it through my actual mic. So hopefully it's better audio from the last stream. So it's all a work in progress. This is literally my second live show ever. So, but you guys have been awesome and bearing through all of it. So, but what I was saying is you guys may have already know about the catch up. The catch up is all about catching up on anything, any big topics that I haven't been able to talk about throughout the week. Also, us catching up with each other, seeing how you all are doing. So let me know how you all doing in the chat. How y'all feeling about the Yankees? I know we're kind of going week by week, and it's spring training, so there may not be a whole lot to take out of it. But as you can see in on the screen here, we're gonna jump right into talking about Spencer Jones being sent to the minors. I want to know how you guys feel about that. A lot of Yankee fans aren't too happy, and quite honestly, I feel indifferent. I kind of expected this to happen. Look at our outfield. We've said this offseason after making moves for Juan Soto, Verdugo, and having the depth of Trent Grisham, we don't really have we have one of the best outfields in baseball, and we don't have a real spot for Spencer Jones, and there's no need to rush him up. We have an amazing outfield, and but let's I wanted to talk about his numbers in the spring training. And it was really remarkable. And one statistic is not a numerical statistic necessarily, but it's still a statistic, something I kind of wanted to bring up that really makes me so happy for Spencer Jones, his development, and what that can mean for him next year, as I do anticipate him to come up either at the end of this year or definitely probably in the opening day roster next year, especially since I don't know, but I don't anticipate or see the need to re-sign Alex Verdugo, so we're going to have an opening there. But let's look at his Spencer Jones offensive numbers. He had a slash line of batting average of 467, an on-base percentage of 556, so getting on base more than half of the time. Now, again, this is a very small sample size, but still. And then a slugging of 733 with an OPS of nearly 1.3. Which is really, really good. And let me add, just for style points, he decided to get a home run that is almost 500 feet, which was really, really, really impressive, especially to start off the spring. But the most impressive stat for me is that he did all of this by not having a single swing and miss. A single swing and miss, which, if you guys haven't kept up with him and his development and his progression as a prospect and coming up through the minors, his biggest and his biggest concern for scouts has been his swing and miss. And being 6'6", having a wide strike zone does not help. We know that Aaron Judge in the beginning of his career struggled with that. And, Judge isn't Juan Soto at the plate, but he's definitely has gotten much, much better. Jones, you see he's making an intentional effort to improve. And I don't care if it's only 8 games. I don't care if it's only, I believe it was in the 20s in terms of the certain amount of at-bats he's had. To not have a single swing and miss is really, really impressive, and it's a great sign to see that he's working on something, and it's working, and it's progressing. So I'm super excited to see how he develops. He hasn't even, I believe, touched AAA, or if he did, it wasn't many games. So, again, totally normal, totally acceptable that Jones was kind of sent to the minors. He's going to have that AAA experience this year, most likely. And then we'll be seeing him maybe some point this year, or if not next year. But that's totally normal, and that's totally, totally okay. Now, kind of getting into the other topic, I kind of wanted to have an opportunity for a Q&A. So if you guys have any questions you kind of want me to address, you could definitely drop them down below, and I'll get to them. towards the end of the episode, the live show. But I definitely wanted to talk about Anthony Rizzo. I feel like we're not talking enough about him. He's having an amazing spring. I feel like in spring training, it's so easy to do two things: either be overly optimistic or overly pessimistic, where you see, for example, Giancarlo is not tearing the cover off the ball. I believe there's a few other guys that are not doing too hot, but I do wanted to shed some light on Anthony Rizzo, and this goes beyond the numbers. Let's say Rizzo was maybe only hitting 200 batting average, which he's not, but only hitting a 200 batting average. But if he's making hard contact and his timing is looking good, then that's what matters. And I kind of, me with a little bit of a getting my bachelor's in psychology. I'm working in the hospital within the field of neurology as an EEG technician. So I kind of have a little bit of understanding of how the brain works and how concussions work to a certain level or degree. But before we get into kind of what happened with him in the concussion, let's just talk about how well he's kind of bounced back from that concussion. His batting currently, as of yesterday, I didn't collect his stats. I'm not sure if he played today. I kind of missed part of today's game. But he batted .500 with his .625 on-base percentage, a slugging, not a OPS, but a slugging of 1.16, and then for an OPS of a nearly 1.8 OPS with a pair of homers. One of them was a very notable one, bases loaded with 3 walks from DJ, Soto, Judge, and then a grand slam from Anthony Rizzo, which was super exciting to see, something hopefully that we can see many times this year. Vibes are looking really, really good. Now, what's most impressive is not necessarily the numbers, but again, the kind of contact he's having. He's already had 2 homers, very hard hit base hits, and the eye test is looking amazing. Again, like I said, if he was batting 200 but still making hard contact and having good timing, that would still be impressive for me, and that would be still a good sign. Again, it's more than just the numbers. So a little bit on the psychology and the way that the brain works with the concussion. So if you look, I looked back at the video of Anthony Rizzo's concussion. He got hit in the front of the head. Now, when people hit the front of their head, the damage that the brain receives or the impact that the brain receives in that moment is not from the front of the head. There's actually, a lack of better terms, kind of a cushion there, but it ends up bouncing back to the back of the skull, and the impact, though externally looks like it's from the front of the head, the brain bounces into the back of the head. So then the back of the head gets damaged. Now, in the back of the head, there's the cerebellum, which is responsible for balance and timing and reaction. Now, that makes a lot of sense in terms of how Anthony Rizzo struggled in the second half last year after that concussion. Obviously, when he first got hit, you saw his balance was affected. You also saw how at the plate, his balance looked a bit weird and off. In these highlights, you're not going to see that. You're going to see a good Rizzo. And you're going to see how his timing was affected. You even hear him talk about how he would swing at the ball and it would be way behind him, even though he thought he was swinging on time. He thought it felt like the ball was invisible to him, is the way that he described it. And so that all is affected by that concussion and impact, which makes a lot of sense. So seeing that timing is much better, his balance is looking much better, he's hitting the ball much harder. And let me mind you, this is just a side note. Rizzo did get a home run last year, though he slumped. He still got a home run despite having a concussion and dealing with the damage in the brain that he'd had from that concussion, which is super impressive, I think, regardless of his terrible statistics, to even get a hard-hit home run like he did. I believe that was in Cincinnati. I could be wrong, but that Rizzo's looking amazing, great. And again, if you look at his career stats, he pretty much averages 30 home runs every year, with outliers being the concussion he's had and obviously the shortened season. I think everything outside of that, he's had an average of 30 home runs. Obviously, maybe his rookie season maybe didn't look like that. But Rizzo, you can expect 30 home runs with maybe a 280 average, which, again, with the lineup that we've constructed already, we didn't have this Rizzo last year. So I know we don't like playing this game and hearing these comments from the front office or Aaron Boone, but this is almost like an offseason acquisition if we could have a healthy Rizzo. So again, getting 30 home runs in added into any lineup, even the Braves lineup, which is an amazing lineup, is a plus, is amazing, especially coming from the left side. He's a very good situational hitter. Rizzo, I think, is going to have an amazing bounce back season. Let me add to you, in the same way that when he got that grand slam in spring training, again, I know it's spring training, but look at this. The way that that pitcher pitched around DJ, which may not say much because, no offense, DJ's not as dangerous as Soto or Judge, but pitching around Judge and Soto, there's going to be a point that when you have two men on or bases loaded, you're going to have to attack Rizzo if he's hitting in the cleanup spot. And if you're attacking Rizzo at the plate and throwing strikes, in the zone, with Rizzo's great bat-to-ball skills, choking up on the bat at 2 strikes, he's going to make so much contact. I think his average is going to spike up. Maybe his home runs, I can see him breaking the 32 benchmark that he's always had, 32 home runs. I can see him maybe getting 35. I know it's a stretch. Maybe I'm getting overly excited here. But again, if Rizzo could stay healthy, which outside of the concussion, he has stayed healthy with the Yankees, I think he's going to be due for maybe that same 30 home run season, but maybe his average is going to hit 300. Again, before the concussion, what did he have? He had an over 300 batting average. He was arguably, at the time, our best bat in the lineup, even with Judge being healthy as well. Again, that concussion derailed him, but I am so stoked to see what Rizzo's going to do. And he's so smart at the plate that I feel like even with age, he's going to be able to make that adjustment, and he's still going to have a good year this year. So I don't want to continue. I could talk all day about Rizzo, but something a little more serious I do want to talk about. Maybe serious, maybe not. I want you guys to start letting me know down in the chat. And if you are just tuning in, drop in the comments. We're going to do a quick little Q&A. If you guys have any questions you guys want to ask, personal questions or Yankee-related questions or comments, I will address them right at the end of this last topic, which the last topic of the day is going to be talking about Carlos Rodon. How are we feeling about Carlos Rodon? Are we worried about Carlos Rodon? How are we feeling about Carlos Rodon? Now, he hasn't had amazing outings, I believe, in BP, or not BP, but in I believe he was throwing to his teammates, just kind of like how they do in spring training. Apparently, people were saying he was basically throwing BP. He has lit up a lot of runs in essentially all of his outings, I believe. I could be wrong. So let me know what you guys think about Carlos Rodon. Are you guys worried about Rodon? Are you not? Is this going to be the same thing as last year? Is it going to be maybe not the Carlos Rodon we saw with the Giants or the White Sox, but maybe not as bad as the Carlos Rodon we saw last year? How are we feeling? What are we thinking about it? Welcome if you're just coming in. Make sure to drop in the chat your questions if you have any questions about me, about the Yankees that we want to talk about. Going to be talking about it right after this topic, so stay tuned. And I'm not worried. As you guys are dropping in your comments below about what you feel about Rodon, I'm not worried about Carlos Rodon. I'm not worried at all. I know he has looked shaky. I agree with you, Ed. And it's kind of like almost PTSD for us Yankee fans. We don't want anything related to last year. We do not want that. We do not want to hear about concussion with Rizzo. We do not want to hear about a 6 ERA from any starting pitcher. We do not want to hear about injuries. We do not want to hear about any of that. So anytime we hear about a lot of earned runs, we hear about home runs being let up by Rodon, it does get a little worrisome. And I don't want to pick and choose what I care about in spring training, right? If I'm gonna speak highly about Jones and Rizzo's offensive numbers, I don't want to then undermine a lot of earned runs from Rodon. But one thing I do want to maybe put a little buffer on is that we heard that Rodon has this spring, maybe not in a spring training game, but has been able to throw 97 miles per hour Now, his biggest issue has been his fastball in these spring training games. From what I've been able to see, what I've been able to talk about with other people, it's been his fastball. And his fastball has been coming in at 92, 93. Now, I don't want to say that's anything related to an injury. That could be him maybe playing it safe to not get injured. Remember, last spring, he did get injured in spring training. I believe it was his first outing, too. So maybe he's being told to take it easy. Therefore, he's laying fastballs down the zone at 90 something degrees. And yes, Ed, I want him to be so good for us. I know it sounds blasphemous or crazy to say, but I would be so proud of him if he has even a better year than what maybe Cole may give us next this upcoming season. Like, I really want to root for him. He has that fire. He has that passion. He wants to be better. I think he's a great guy. We saw how much losing and being bad and producing poorly for his team affected him last year. If you heard his end of season pressers, it was borderline depressing. So welcome, Danny. So glad to see you in the chat. But we want Rodon to be better. We don't want to speak against him. And that's a great point, Danny. Danny says as long as he stays healthy and keeps pitching, he'll essentially be better. And yes, he is working on his cutter. And I did want to talk about that. So first of all, great point, Danny. He said the whole idea of staying healthy. If he could stay healthy, that's already a better Rodon than what we had last year, right? Now, I don't want to say that that's all we need from him. We paying him big bucks to produce big for us. But if he could stay healthy, that's progression. And that's better than the productivity we got last year. And again, as Yankee fans, though we have an amazing team, I think right now, we just want better. We just need, not want, we need better than last year. So great point by Danny. And again, great point by Danny talking about the cutter. That is a pitch he's working on. He's normally a fastball slider guy. He's adding a cutter, which I know Talking Yanks was talking about it. It's a little questionable in terms of movement and correlation and velocity. In correlation to a fastball and a slider because the cutter's kind of in between both of those. But believe it or not, his cutter hasn't been the issue this spring. If anything, his cutter's been looking good, which is kind of what I wanted to talk about. It's really his fastballs that have been letting up a lot of those runs and those home runs. The latest one from, I believe, Yandy Diaz from the Rays, which, again, let's not forget, Yandy Diaz had an MVP caliber season last year with MVP votes. He's a good hitter. So, I mean, not saying that that's a good reason to let up home runs. But if you were to let up a home run to anyone, let it be to a player that got MVP votes last year. So it's a little give and take on that end. Yes, we shouldn't give up home runs, but also let's put into context who it was to. And again, it was the first pitch. If you look at a lot, especially even in the regular season, you see a lot of first pitch strikes down the middle, fastball strikes down the middle, just to get the game started. So Yandy was just a little aggressive there and got a home run. But yes, his low velo definitely is an issue. And again, I may be too optimistic in giving the benefit of the doubt here, but I think again, like I said, he had an injury last year in spring training. So maybe they're trying to tell him, hey, let's ramp up little by little. Don't worry about throwing 97 in your first couple of starts in spring training, halfway through spring training. Don't worry about that. Let's just focus on your cutter. Let's work on that. Other stuff, just add the fastball, but don't be trying to throw gas down the middle. And then slowly he'll ramp up little by little. Maybe that's what they're trying to do, and maybe that's why there's the lower velo on the fastball, and that's why it's getting hit easier. So that's a theory I do think is valid to consider. It's not the end all be all. I'm not saying that I have reports saying that, but it's something to consider. But overall, I'm not too worried. I'm not stressing. Now, if he can't give me one great start, and I mean great start, like at most 1 earned run, 5 innings, or no or 1 earned runs, 4 innings, then in spring training, then that's if he can't give me at least one, especially towards the end of spring, then I'm gonna be a little. That concern's gonna be there, but I'm still not worried. I'm not gonna be worried. If anything, I'll go as far as saying I'm not gonna be worried about Carlos Rodon until we get maybe the third start into the regular season. If by the third start he's not figuring it out, then I'm probably my hands hovering over the panic button, or depending on how bad the starts are, I may be hitting the panic button. But again, that may be me being an over exaggerated Yankee fan. Um, but yeah, guys, drop your questions down below. That's it for the 3 topics we have, but stay tuned if you want to talk anything that we didn't talk about that you'd like to hear. Let me know down in the comments in the chat. We'll talk about it. Marcus Stroman has been having a really, really good spring. Literally just today. Last start, he had a great start. I think he had 1 earned run, 3 or 4 innings. I could be wrong. This start today, he had no hit, 4 innings. He went 4 innings, no hit ball, which is super exciting to see. Again, this is the Marcus Stroman that the Cubs had in the first half of the season last year. This is the Marcus Stroman that we're seeing this year. We see, if you have followed him on social media, he loves being a Yankee. I feel like that's going to play a little bit into the productivity that we're going to get. The fire and the emotion and the passion of the Yankee fans every day at Yankee Stadium. We saw his productivity in the WBC for both Puerto Rico and USA. Not carrying, but helping USA get to the finals 2 WBCs ago. I think Marcus Stroman is going to have an amazing year this year. I'd go my ceiling for him, not my expectation, but my ceiling for him is to have the same first half he had with the Cubs. I expect him to have that through the whole season. That would be super, super exciting. And if he can, again, going back to Rodon, that'll pick up on Rodon maybe slacking a bit. Also think that'll take a little pressure off Rodon. To not feel like he has to have the spotlight of the number 2 starter if Marcus Stroman is pitching like a number 2 starter or like a Cy Young pitcher like he was last year. But, guys, that'll do it. Sorry for the audio issues in the beginning. You didn't miss too much, so thank you, Ed, for jumping in when you did, letting me know about the audio issues. I was just talking about the catch-up and what it's all about. I think I reiterated that as well later on in the episode. But welcome. Thank you guys for tuning in the chat. Those that were active in the chat, Danny, Ed. I've got a few Dannys that are subscribed, so we got high representation of the Dannys. We had another Danny back in the first live show, so don't miss live show number 3. We're doing this every Friday, and if you guys are liking it, make sure you like and subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. Obviously, I'm gonna fine tune some of these things. Yeah, first episode I had bad audio. This episode I started with no audio. Then hopefully the audio sounded better. I had my intro playing in the middle of the first episode. This episode, it looked like all the graphics were playing smoothly. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys are liking this, please make sure to let me know. If you guys like it that much, I may make more live shows. I may make my Bronx Banner standard episodes live. Who knows if you guys are liking it that much, because I'm so far enjoying it. Again, I'm going to make it better. I have more ideas, more things coming with the live show. This isn't it, so stay tuned if you want to see more of that. And until next Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be right here. I'll see you right here. If you're watching this recorded, be live Friday, 6 p.m. Let me know. It was so much fun, guys. And until next